Hello, everybody, to the Tardis Zone Talks here on the Tardis Zone. I am your host, Noel Zone, as people know me as, and we have our co host joining us, Christian Basil from the Legend
Woo!
of the Traveling TARDIS. How are you?
I'm great, dude. This is different. And usually I'm on with the camera, but today I'm just a blinking TARDIS with microphones attached. So I
Yeah,
like
well,
this.
I was actually setting up my camera, but it kind of had technical difficulties before we came live because I was actually going to do these on camera. So maybe next Friday, I'll get it set up somehow that it'll work. But I did actually try to get it to work tonight. But
Oh, I'm not proper, so that's okay.
yeah, so so whenever it doesn't really make a difference. I see there's a couple of people in the chat already. There's 7 people
Yeah.
watching. Obviously, they're probably wondering why I'm live this early. Don't worry, Friday night contact is on tonight. As you can see now, scrolling down the bottom of the screen, so nobody gets confused anymore. The weekly schedule is now scrolling across the screen, so you will know when each stream is on and the time, and they're all UK times, by the way. But we are here to talk. Obviously, we'll get straight into business because these are not going to be long streams because obviously Christian is actually doing this during his lunch breaks. So we only get a certain
Shh,
amount
that
of
was
time,
supposed to be a secret.
but we do plan on doing a few more of these. We'll fit it in eventually, but we're going to start off a Friday, see how it goes, and see how everybody responds to it. Because we won't get into it, but some people like to moan. Anyway, we're here to talk about Doctor Who news. So I think we'll start with the Peter Davison news actually, because
Okay.
I saw this today and it only dropped about 8 hours ago. So I'll throw it up on screen. The articles are in the link description. So what we'll do is, and next week when we hone this, what we'll do is Christian will go away now after this one, and then if he sees any Doctor Who articles that he would like to discuss next week, we will send them to each other so we know. So I can put all the links in the link description, and I will do the same as well. Yes, I have heard about that YouTuber, but I don't want to get into it because that's not what we're here for. Um, let the law take its course on that. But I have read everything about it, and I have to say, very calculated if true. But we're not going to say any more because we cannot affect. It's an ongoing case, so I would ask you to not say anything else about it in the chat if you don't mind, because remember, this guy is now going to be put on trial, and anything that is said online could be um, could harm the case. So let's leave it there if you don't mind. But Peter Davison has said, folks, and I'll throw it up on screen there for you. And I'll just say this: it seems to be a bit of a redemption for Peter Davison, in not with us because we've always loved Peter Davison, and Peter Davison, even though I'd watched all the other classic Doctors before Peter Davison, I did grow up during the Peter Davison era. So Doctor Who was on TV during this time, and Peter Davison, you would say, was my Doctor. Um, but we seen what happened when he made the comments when Miss Whitaker was cast, and we all know what happened there. He faced a bit of a backlash and he went off Twitter. Now, as you know, he recently came back for the Power of the Doctor uh, episode, Jodie Whittaker's Swan Song, which, compared to most of the crap that Jibs has produced over the last 5 years, was pretty decent enough, because there was so much happening that you didn't even need to worry about a script or a plot. To be quite honest with you, but he has said Doctor Who Peter Davison is always happy to come back to the show. I've never dreamed that in the 24th century I'd be appearing in Doctor Who, he said. Now, there is an interview there, but we can't play because from the Radio Times, unfortunately, and these media outlets are very good at striking your video. So we're not going to do it because YouTube's acting a bit ridiculous. After the delighting Doctor Who fans with his return in The Power of the Doctor, Peter Davison has given us all hope by saying he'll always be up for another comeback. The Fifth Doctor actor returned for Jodie Whittaker's final episode, along with fellow classic Doctors Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, and David Bradley playing the Fourth Doctor. So he was speaking exclusively to the Radio Times. He says, "I'm always happy to come back," he said. "I was very envious of the special effects. We didn't have a lot. We're mainly down to green screen and rather cumbersome rubber monsters. It's a thrill to be part of the digital age, but at the same time, when David Tennant first took over as the Doctor in 2006, I went along to see the filming. I was very pleased to see the actual program, although it looked much better with all the special effects on the screen. It's still made with the same degree of chaos and panic, and nobody knew what the heck they were doing as it was when I made it. It actually does, Christian. That is a fair point, isn't it? A lot of these, the producers, the people behind it, sometimes they really don't know what they're doing. And they're just, they have a plan, but it's so chaotic. There's so much to do. Budget is limited, obviously. As he's mentioned, special effects not the greatest back in his day. I mean, they really did pull a rabbit out of the hat each time, didn't they?
Well, when it comes to stuff like that, I mean, when we were growing up with Classic Who, now today, like let's take for instance, Ark in Space. We know the we're in were bubble wrap with green paint, and we saw that and we're just like, okay. But I mean, growing up, we did not know what bubble wrap was.
Yeah.
So this was high tech back then. But again, like you said, it was working off of a college tuition budget to get these shows going. When you comparatively look at Doctor Who and things like Star Wars and everything else that came out of it, Buck Rogers, the high tech, you weren't there was absolutely no comparison.
Yeah.
They were still kind of working within this really shoestring budget. But for me, and this is for me, when I watched Doctor Who, it was not necessarily to watch the monsters or the villains, or it was to watch Tom Baker kick the butt of bug-eyed monsters.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
the
we liked.
storytelling, wasn't it?
And storytelling, yes.
That's what being Doctor Who fans, we've never had a problem. We know they've always had to work on a shoestring budget. And we're just amazed at some of the stories, especially RTD has to be given a lot of credit, but you look back at even the classic era, the budgets were so bad, and they were still able to introduce epic stories. I mean, it is credit to all these people that have worked on Doctor Who over the years, and they should be given a huge amount of credit. Even Peter Davison says there, nothing really ever changes despite the technology. So it's still as chaotic as ever. It's just obviously they have the helping hand of the technology now, but it still amazes me. Up until the Chris Chibnall era, personally, I didn't like that, as you know, but we won't get into that. But up until then, I felt the quality was always there. Even Moffat, yes, for me, he was inconsistent as a showrunner, but he did produce some of the best stories that we've ever gotten. And I mean, just hats off to them. I was saying this to someone. I think I was saying it to you, wasn't I? When we had a little conversation about this is the first time that Doctor Who is actually going to look polished. Gone are the times of these dodgy special effects and dodgy CGI. I mean, now they've got an actual budget. Budget is no object now. Like, they're in a different position than, I mean, RTD, this must be great, because when he brought the show back, Christian, in 2005, as you know, shoestring budget. This time he's back now, And apparently after the 60th, that's when the budget kicks in. He's going to have an unlimited budget to work on the next couple of series of Doctor Who. I mean, he's never experienced that with Doctor Who either. This is going to be a learning curve for him all over again.
But the thing is, you can have the greatest budget, you can have the highest technology if you have crap writing, crap directing, really immature, bad acting.
Yeah.
What's the point? I mean, you might as well just have a screen. One of my favorite movies of all time, this really baffles people, is Patton, a very old movie where when everything is running on all 6 cylinders. It had wonderful cinematography, had great acting by George C. Scott and Carl Malden and everybody who was in there. It was, to me, a great film, and people, I think, it won Academy Awards and stuff, but it did it because everything was firing on all cylinders, and it worked on a story that actually was really not about too much about Patton's life when we find out later. What I'm worried about is, even with the technology we have today, you see that they land on it too much to the point where they're creating their own wibbly wobbly timey sets that they had back then. You can see, oh, well, that's CGI. Sometimes I think going back to the Rick Baker monsters every now and then to perfect, if you can perfect that and make it look real. It does look like the doctor. What was it? The doctors are sitting. What was it? The crossroads by the phone line, whatever that was. I was just like,
well, Christian, isn't it?
About?
I know you're talking about the technology and you're afraid that they might lean into that. And I agree with you, because that's where I think a lot of the Marvel DCU has gone wrong. They've gotten lazy depending on it. But isn't it good to see that they're actually still building the TARDIS interior? Like, it's still being built, so it's not going to be CGI there. So they're actually going to use a physical set, which I think is great. Because with the technology that they have, they could literally build a virtual TARDIS.
I like that with the changing personalities of the Doctor, it seems also that there's changing personalities with the TARDIS, and the TARDIS goes with its own Doctor. It may overlap like Matt Smith did, or Eccleston's went into David Tennant's, but it still has that personality that kind of works with that Doctor. And now that they're going to build one for Ncuti, I'm really excited how everything's going to pan out in the end. Are they going to do something weird? We saw that one photo with the jukebox. I thought, people were like, why has he got a jukebox? And I'm like, who cares? Let's do it. I'm sure there's going to be one storyline where he's just listening. I remember the Eighth Doctor, his set. I mean, that was gorgeous.
Yeah,
they really spent a ton. It was like, whoa, this is steampunk meeting Doctor Who when Sylvester is
that's considered the best interior. Would you agree? That's considered the best interior.
I would put that in my house. It's up there. If I had to build one, believe it or not, if I had to build one in my house, that would either be it, or 11's, or the second version, which only showed for one episode, of Tom Baker's. I think that was the Robots of Death. I'm thinking. You remember that one where he shows where he's explaining to Leela how dimensions work, and I thought that was cool. It's like a box, and then he moves the box closer to her and goes, "Okay, which one's bigger?" Yeah, that TARDIS. I would love that interior. I would have brightened it up a bit there, but I was like, cool. But I mean, if I had to pick,
what do you think of the leaked one? I mean, the concept art looked amazing, and a few fans have actually put. They've done a kind of rendering of the photograph and put it into a kind of a video, and it's like a virtual tour of it. It looks absolutely amazing. Some people have said it's too bright. Now, I kind of agree. I have to agree. It does look a bit bright now at the moment. But again,
are they done?
We haven't actually seen the whole lot. That's going to be. Listen, that's going to have dark. Probably it's going to be a little bit darker with a bit of that vibrant lighting going on. And we got the roundels back. People were moaning for years. We want the roundels back. Now we've got them back. People are moaning. Like, make up his mind. Like, come on.
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, whenever you see leaked or rumored photos, whatever, it's just like, well, is that the final product, or is there something more going on. We're in the point of the repairs.
Well, I
for
think
that.
you know why fans are saying that, Christian, though, is because do you remember the Jodie Whittaker one was leaked, and it actually ended up being exactly what it was. Now obviously the person that created it says that he was disappointed that was leaked, but this had no lighting on it at the time, but it still looked awful. And he says, well, it has to be lit up and it looked a little bit better.
I
But
think
then
I
when
was.
it was lit up, it was absolutely, I never liked that one
He
anyway.
didn't like that it was leaked. I didn't like that it was used. I mean, it's just like the lighting was a little bit wonky. I did like that spinning TARDIS thing. I don't know why. But I'm
Oh, the spirit, yeah.
I don't know why. That's me. But everything else, it's just like everybody was saying, the most derogatory things, and just like, well, it is an art thing, but it's like, yeah, it feels like it's enclosed. Whereas now Shooties looks like it is a dimension inside. There's a whole other room of dimension, and you could do more with the
Yeah.
space. That's where I'm thinking. It's just like, we didn't have the privilege of having that during Classic Who. Is always, the white round things and with the
That's
white
right.
rooms. Here we're actually saying, no, we are in another dimension.
Oh yeah, you're
We
gonna
got that
see different
space.
rooms. You're
Yeah.
gonna look. You're going to see different rooms on the TARDIS. This thing apparently is huge. But I mean, one of my favorite episodes of I think was it Moffat era? Yeah, it was. It was the Moffat era. It was the Doctor's wife.
Mhm.
You know, when House took over the TARDIS and Amy and Rory are stuck in the TARDIS and it keeps changing. Like the TARDIS keeps changing, the corridors keep changing, and there's different rooms of the TARDIS. Like they have tried to do it before, but obviously they haven't had the budget. But I thought that was a very good episode. Actually, that's one of my favorite episodes of the Moffat era.
Well,
The Doctor's wife.
it was not only that, but we got to see the perspective from the TARDIS side, which we never
Yeah.
would be able to because she finally had a voice. And I like the fact that she's looking at what appears to be a graveyard, and she says it, of her sisters, all lying there in ruins. All these big, huge dimensional TARDISes, they're just been ripped apart thanks to House. And, finally she gets her way in there, and everybody's been going like, well, we should bring back Idris. I said, no, that is a one pony show, and that's where it should stay. Because if you
Yeah.
do anything else with it, in my opinion, unless you have some really great story, just like bringing back anybody else, Idris is a one moment thing, and this is where the moment lives, because that's the only time he was able to verbally talk to her face
Yeah.
to face. And that moment where she goes, hello, he's going goodbye. No, she's going, hello, doctor. I've never had a chance to tell you that. And then leaves. And I said, that do not bring interest back. Because you would kill that moment. It'd be the same thing when I tell people when Ianto was supposed to come back, everybody wanted Ianto back and said, no, you're going to kill children of Earth. That whole scene, the sacrifice, the truth of being in the room together, it's just like, it kills that moment. Don't bring it back.
It would.
Unless you got some story in the background that we don't know about, don't do it.
Exactly. Well, let's finish off what Peter Davison has to say here. He says, to have a series still going and still going strong, well, that's questionable. And every few series, it gets a new lease of life. And who knows if I'll get invited back again. But it's been a great thrill to be involved with. And I've never been worried about that because I've always managed to work apart from it. It's fun to come back. Listen, I'm seeing a lot of these interviews come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've got RTD has already spoke about an expanded universe. As long as these actors are still alive, RTD has seen what they've done with Star Wars, bringing Luke Skywalker back. Listen, it's very, very possible that we could have some of these classic Doctors appear in the future. I would actually say we have more of a chance now than we've ever had, actually, of them returning. Now, I'm probably dreaming. If it's done properly, I would love to see my Dr. Peter Davison back properly. I would. I'd love if Tom Baker was 10 years or maybe 15 years younger. I would love to see that man back again as well. Obviously, he couldn't appear in the 60th. They didn't. I don't think they gave an official reason why, but as you have saying, he is getting really these last couple of years, especially, you could see the age has caught up with him. But he's still as smart and as wise as ever, and still has that quickness in his brain. I love Tom Baker. The day he passes away is the day the fandom.
I don't even say that. I don't even.
I know, but it will happen
Well,
eventually. I mean, look, nobody lives forever. We're all going to eventually pass away, unfortunately, but that's just life. But
I
it'll
truly.
be, I'll be go. I don't know, man. I can. I'm like you though. I know I've mentioned it now. Now I feel bad for mentioning it, but
Well, I mean, I truly think, and I usually joking when I go to panels and conventions and stuff, which I'm going to be going at the end of this month to Pensacon. I told I told people William Shatner, Tom Baker, and a few others, Paul McGann, they all drink from the same pool, all swim in the same pool of virgins and politicians' blood. I was just like, they just live on forever. They don't seem to age. And God bless them that they continue going on. William Shatner, what, he just about 89 or something like that? And he
yeah,
was launched into space.
he was launched into space,
Like,
and then
what?
we had one of his co-stars from a previous show that they were on slagging him, calling him what was it, a fat hamster or something in space or something.
Yeah, I hope
Those,
everybody looks as good as he does at 89. Good luck to that one
in
if you
fairness,
even make that
exactly.
finish line.
Exactly, and the
So,
fact, and look, we all know that Shatner is a bit of a diva, right? Everybody knows that he stole lines and stuff like that.
well,
Fair
more of a
play to
diva,
him.
but
He was the star of the show, end of story, right? But like, look at what he's done and achieved since then. I don't want to get off topic, but he's done a lot. He's been launched
yeah.
up into space, as you said. Not many 89-year-olds or 90-year-olds can fucking say that, right? Not most of us can actually say that either. So, I mean, I think George needs to kind of keep quiet
I
now.
just want
He's
to jump
kind of
into
embarrassing himself.
Peter's comments, and much of who is about moments to interfere with the diminishes the moment. Peter, I would even go as far as Peter Davison, the Fifth Doctor, even saying in his dialogue to some small things are what life is all about. I'm getting that quote wrong, but that is the case. Some people will find things in life that is theirs, and it may not be. It doesn't matter the expansion of the big world where they don't see the big picture. It's just sometimes some people see the small picture, and that's their world to us. And that's all that matters. They don't want to look at the big picture. They want to see what events lie and what they make a difference. And what was it? The 11th Doctor going, we're all stories in the end, make it a good one. So you always get those dialogues that reflect back. This is what Doctor Who is all about. Hey, Bobby, D75 Christian representing us Americans. Yep, I'm here. So.
Yep. Well, I suppose I'm married to an American. It was a natural progression, I suppose, to have an American co-host eventually. But yeah, obviously there's been some casting news. Some of us know about some of the casting and stuff like that. But for anybody that doesn't, because this article was dropped today as well. So let's
keep going and keep reading. I'll be right back. Just 1 minute. I just need to grab something real fast. I'll be right back.
Yeah, not a bother. And go on. You go ahead. Go ahead. So new Doctor Who castings confirmed ahead of specials and season 14. We've got plenty of guest stars to look forward to. Now, here again, the Chibnall era was very good. The whole, I have to say, in New Who especially, has been very good. And even back in the day, I suppose, of getting all of these co-stars. Now, under Chris Chibnall, the co-stars that came in, to be quite honest with you, some of them actually outshined Jodie Whittaker. Some decided to attack fans with their interviews that they did about the episode that they were in, and then give out about fans. But this has to be done properly. Again, like everything else, you don't just bring in guest stars for the sake of it. But anyway, new Doctor Who episodes might be months away, but the news keeps coming with 2 more castings being made official. Showrunner Russell T Davies, who's returning to the helm, the 60th anniversary series Beyond, has been chatting away about the guest stars involved, including one that fans haven't spotted just yet. He's confirmed that joining the likes of Neil Patrick Harris and Ruth Madley, who was great in Years and Years, by the way, in the 60th anniversary celebrations will be Ronak Patani, who's playing Major Singh. There's not much known about his character just yet, but he's seen in the trailer released on Christmas Day. Patani has previously appeared in Andor, called the Midwife, and the Suspect. Writing in Doctor Who magazine, Davies said, "There's Neil Patrick Harris. Okay, there's Root. There is Noble Temple family in all their glory, and then and that's Ronak Patani as Major Singh, and there he is there. He was at a film festival there in that photograph in 2018. The BFI, is it? London, yeah, film festival there. So he's joining the cast. And meanwhile, the casting of Coronation Street actor Jack Forsyth Noble has been confirmed for season 14. Don't watch Coronation Street anymore. Don't know if that's don't recognise that name. He's playing a character named Will, and told Doctor Who magazine Russell has brought together a kind and incredibly talented team, and to be part of the first day of filming was really special. Audiences are in for a ride. It comes after stars including Dobson and Michelle Greenidge were cast, although character details of both of them have been kept under wraps. It's previously announced that Jenna Redgrave will be returning to Doctor Who for the next season as a recurring ally at Kate Ledbridge. Stuart, this is all a mouthful, with Peaky Blinders stars Anion Barnard also announced to play the new character Roger G. Williams.
No,
anyway, they'll be joining new star shooting.
Oh wow, that fixed things.
Gibson.
So
there you go.
There's a lot of people in the chat saying that your audio was going wonky during that whole thing. I just wanted to let you know. Well, it finally fixed itself, but I unmute myself and all of a sudden it was starting to work. So that was just weird.
Right. I don't know what's going on there. We seem to be having some technical difficulties anyway. So I don't know if you heard me say all that, because I'm not repeating all that again. But basically, they've listed a Coronation Street star and the bloke that I just mentioned there. So yeah, any comments on any of the support cast that are coming in? I guess co-stars. So we got Anita Dobson, Gemma Redgrave. We've got Roger, whatever that second name. I can't pronounce Welsh names. I'm sorry. I'm not even going to try and attempt it. And then we've got this guy here.
Did I, Cinnamon? Did I really?
Is me audio still going weird?
You can tell that there's a slight short. It's not as bad as it was, but I think this is just coincidental when I unmute my
think it's because I've went into this Radio Times article. I think the media found out a way of fucking us up, man. I don't know. Anyway, this guy is joining. It's Ronak Patani, who's playing Major Singh. He was in the trailer, but apparently nobody noticed him. We've got Anita Dobson, obviously, who's coming back. Neil Patrick Harris, Ruth Madley, as you all know, the Noble family. Jack Forsyth Noble has been confirmed for Series 14, and he also works on Coronation Street, or used to work on Coronation Street. So we've got a lot of guest stars joining Doctor Who, which has never really been the problem with the show. Guest stars, it's never been a problem getting them on. problem is that I think over the last 5 years they haven't really um well, some of them have attacked the fans, as I've said. They've done interviews because people were giving out about certain episodes and they decided to have a go at their audience. So, you know, again, once these characters, these guest stars are well written, stuff like that, we won't have a problem. Christian, have you got anything to say on these guest stars that have been announced?
Absolutely not, because I don't know half of who they are. I just know Gemma Redgrave and Neil Patrick Harris, because they're, Gemma has been on the show many a time. She's the daughter of
Yeah, what do you
Fridge
think
Stewart.
about Una? What do you think about? I'll ask you that then, because I think obviously if you don't know too much about the rest of them, there's no point of me asking you. So I'll ask you,
Well,
what are your thoughts on everything that you've heard that's come out about what's gonna the rumors and the stuff that we have seen that apparently is going to be happening in season is 14. Does
well,
it
let me.
excite you to see Una back and or do you think at this stage, because we've had Una quite a good bit now in New Who, is is it time to kind of let Una go for a while, or do you think it's good that they're back?
Well, let me put this in there because I do have an answer to, as far as the celebrity is concerned. This was, for me, unless I've been mistaken or I haven't been reading much on British, social medias and stuff. This has been kind of a new thing, because usually when they have a celebrity, and it's usually a one-off celebrity. I remember at the end of The Woman Who Fell to Earth, they had that, and I don't know if this showed. I assumed it showed on the BBC.
They did, where they were all the
All
guests
these
that were
celebrities.
appeared, and yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
and
that was cringe.
I truly thought, I've had mixed emotions. Like, wait a minute, are we taking away from Jodie by throwing all these celebrities in? Because look, we're gonna have this. We're gonna have we're gonna have this person in this episode, and like 90% of them I didn't know except for Alan Cummings. And I was like, okay, well, Alan Cummings is gonna be on this one. And just like, and the guy from Sex and the City, which he's
Yeah,
done some
who
bad things, but
played a
right,
character
and
that was
just
like someone that we know.
and it's the same thing that runs for me when it came to like having three companions for Jodie. I'm just like, aren't we supposed to be focusing on Jodie, because everybody needs to focus on her, and then you can bring in all these extra or externalities in there slowly. So if you really want that Thasman, you bring in Yaz first, and then you bring in Ryan, and then maybe Graham joins in, so that people have a focus on the Doctor. But I mean,
Yeah,
but I'm hypocritical too on the same effect. It's just like, well, if Henry Cavill showed up on Doctor Who, I'm like, yeah, okay, yes, yeah, I'm gonna be watching that episode. So
I think it's the new way of doing things now, and also on top of that, because fans, and if you look on Twitter, there's actually accounts dedicated to sending people out to these filming locations. So a lot of these actors and actresses that are going to appear in the show are going to be photographed. So rather than, I suppose, fans speculate or ruin this, they BBC will just come out and say, yeah, they're in Doctor Who, and whether they want to say what their character is, obviously they've mentioned some what kind of characters they're playing, but there's a lot of people that are joining the show who they're saying, oh no, we're not telling you who their character is, but yes, they are in the show. So it does build up the excitement. But I'm like you, when I saw that at the end of The Woman Who Fell to Earth, and I saw all coming soon, all these guest stars' names coming up in their photograph in every day, a little clip of every episode that these co-stars were going to be in. I was like, nah.
it felt like it felt like it wasn't natural. It felt like, oh, look, here's this person, there's this person. I'm like,
Yeah, they had
why
to
don't
hype it
you
up though.
surprise me? Well, there's a couple things, and I don't know if this is still in the BBC, because when it was owned by BBC, they had to release the cast list, because they were a publicly owned company, but now they're owned by, or they're released in marketing with Sony, Bad Wolf, and now distributed by Disney Plus. Is that still the same? Or can they now hide, we're going to have this celebrity, we're going to have that, we're going to have somebody come in from another universe and stuff like that. Is that still a thing? Because technically they're connected to the BBC, but Sony has all the rights,
Yeah.
because they had to release the cast list and everybody knew, oh, okay, well, that person's going to be in that and that kind of diminished it. But now, is that still the case?
Well, let's see what everybody, the 16 people watching, let's see what people have to say in the chat. Would you rather guest stars not be announced, folks? And obviously fans will still leak the photographs, but if we don't know what kind of characters they're playing or whatever, would you prefer that, or would you prefer to know who these guest stars are going to be? So let me know, yes or no. So would you like, if you would like these guest stars now, press yes. If you don't, press no. Let me see how many of you in the chat actually, yeah, it might be interesting to see what opinions people actually have on this. Let's see.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm hypocritical, because if it's somebody I do want, yes, I do want to know. Give me the episode. But for the most part, when I see the names, and it's nothing against the actors or the actresses who perform, but they're in Coronation Street. They're known in the BBC. Unless
Yeah.
they've done something outwardly like a Marvel movie or a DC movie or anything that's been internationally known, it is really hard to go, oh, that's great. Now, one of the things that led me on to when Shooty got the job, I didn't know who Shooty was, but then I started watching a little bit of I forgot what is that series. She's the
Sex
one on the
Education.
Sex Education, to see what he was like, and I was pulling up some clips from YouTube, so that got me a little bit more familiarized. So it does, just like the historical value that they were trying to push for Doctor Who. It's just like, we're going to bring in something that you're not familiar with, and then usually what people do is research it, like, oh, okay. And it's like bringing back an episode that we're coming up with, the Traveling Tardis. We're going to be discussing Beat the Meat this Tuesday, because he's a character who's going to be up there, and now people are researching, who is Beat the Meat, what role did he play. And he was only in the comics and Big Finish, but now he's going to have TV Prime.
Yeah, and he's not as cute. He's not as cute as he looks, by the way, folks. So I would suggest that you go and actually watch that episode on Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. I actually did a stream on Beep the Meat myself a couple of months ago, when we found out that Beep the Meat was actually going to be making an appearance. And
360.
Beep the Meat is an actual very interesting character. And I'm actually, do you know what? I'm actually glad that RTD is trying something different here. It wouldn't have been my first choice of a villain if he is going to be the villain.
Especially for the 60th. That's
but,
like, wow.
But see that cuteness that you're seeing in that little clip on Christmas Day. Don't be fooled by that cuteness. And if you go and watch The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, you'll find out why. Because they'll go in, obviously they're going into all the details about the character, yeah?
Well, my concern is also that, and I think I can put 90% into this stock. What if that's not Beep the Meat, and that just happened to be something else, and just happened for that brief moment to do everything that Beep does? Looks like him, talks like him, walks like him, but that's not Beep the Meat.
Well, RTD did say, he did actually say in an interview, and I'll have to dig it up again. He did say in an interview that everything that you see mightn't be everything that is actually in the show, and it could be diversion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Cinnamon. I'm happy that he's delving into the universes that are just kind of like off to the side. When will Bernice Summerfield, does she belong to coming crossover to the TV series, or is she a Big Finish thing that just needs to stay off to the side?
Well, that's a debate that we're going to have soon enough, I think, on channels, because it's going to come up. I mean, if he's doing an expanded universe, and what I've been told and what I'm beginning to believe is the situation, is that everything that's out there, every piece of Doctor Who media, he's going to try interconnect it all and make obviously one big. So which means some of the stories, or all of the stories eventually in Big Finish, will eventually become canon. Now, whether you could do now, fans, see, this is the thing. There's fans on both sides of this argument. There are fans that believe that Big Finish is its own entity, and whatever they do there, it's kind of its own kind of universe. Like what James Gunn tried to say about all the movies that we've had so far. They're going to be in the elsewhere worlds, or whatever nonsense he came out with, which we'll be talking about later on Friday Night Contact, so come and join us for that. But I don't know if I'm comfortable I wouldn't mind them exploring some Big Finish stories, you know. But if you're trying to make it all canon, I mean, it's a big task anyway. But I don't know if I'd be happy with that personally. But there will be two sides to this argument because there's some people that believe that Big Finish is a separate entity, and then there's those fans that believe that it's actually part of the wider Doctor Who expanded universe already. So, I mean, it's going to be a debate that's going to have to be had eventually, and it's going to be one of those. There's going to be militancy on both sides, man. I'm a bit more lenient on it. If I wouldn't like them to try make everything canon, but the certain stories out there that I've actually even listened to myself, you know, I wouldn't mind Colin Baker's stories actually to become, well, his earlier stories to become canon, because I do think he did redeem himself on Big Finish, even though he's still not my favorite Doctor and never will be. I just don't like his attitude either. But I would still watch if they brought some of his stories forward and made them canon. But this is a debate, and it's going to be interesting, Christian, because as the months go on, it's going to become more evident what his plan is going to be. And we will have those conversations because obviously fans will want to have those conversations. So of course we'll be here and you'll be on your channel giving people that platform to actually do that and give their opinion on it. But it's very interesting times ahead.
But if I can just add real quickly, I think there's a plus and a minus to this, and I think we've seen it in the past. If we bring in Big Finish, we bring in a whole new dimension, all the villains, all the characters, stories that were just kind of left to the side, the Paternoster game, which everybody was begging for. Can we get in can we look into that possibly? I meant Jago and Lightfoot had their own series. There's so much stuff to pull from. The problem is if we go Moffat, we need to focus on, okay, what story are you going to pick this week? And can we focus on that? Because you go Moffat, you've got too many dangling parcels and storylines are just not cohesive and they're just left out there. And I think that's what Moffat did, but then that's also a folly because it's like, well, you're not wrapping anything up. You're just leaving it by chance. Hi, Chums. And Chums fam 1243. Hi there. I don't want it to get too convoluted into the Big Finish world. I mean, technically, if you really think about it, Doctor Who is Marvel Comics.
Well, so, in fairness, that's what it should have been from day one. I mean, I've said this. I don't. Either BBC didn't realize the potential they had with this franchise, or they just hadn't. I reckon it's a bit about they didn't have the money to do it either, or they probably weren't willing to take that risk. But I mean, this should have been done years ago. I mean, Doctor Who is a series where, there's so much going on that you would think it would have an expanded universe and all of that. But it's never had this. We're getting it now. But I just fear, the modern age of TV, if this was done 10 years ago, I'd probably be a bit more comfortable with it. But it's not 10 years ago. I just hope RTD doesn't go down the same route as Disney or Marvel as, Doctor Who's back on TV, and then within a couple of months you're announcing a brand new spin-off, and then a couple of months after that another one, and then another one and another one, and oversaturate the whole thing. I think you need to give Doctor Who a chance to get back up the ratings, climb back up the ratings, be popular again with fans before you even consider doing another spin-off. What are your thoughts on that? Would you rather them just go full gun-ho, Doctor Who, now spin-offs, or do you think they should take a more measured approach?
Well, if you're listening to like, I think it's, no, not Foggy. Is that Foggy with DC now? Who's doing that DC? He just released the information on that DC.
James Gunn.
James Gunn. if you do it too much, I mean, you could probably enter it, but I kind of like to take it on in strides. I think what we had as far as spinoffs, Torchwood was the adult version, Sarah Jane was the kids version, so they all
Yeah.
had their own rows. And even though that they connected with the Doctor, hello Tardis Spider, even though they had a connection with the Doctor, they were their own separate things. And then you end up with something like Class, which is like, what was this? I'm just like,
You know what? I watched Class as well. Class gets a lot of stick. Look, it tried to be something, and it didn't quite work. They bailed on the promotion for it, but Class is not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. There are some very interesting stories in that, and I say it, of all of the Doctor Who TV shows that I've seen, it's got one of the best cliffhangers at the end of the series. Unfortunately, it just didn't get renewed. I'm telling you, that second season would have been something if they actually had faith and
I
believed in it. Because
I
the, the,
gotta
the end of
disagree.
that last episode, and that
I got to disagree. No, it's just what I've told in the first. The only great thing about Class is Capaldi. That was it. His coming in there and doing his thing, and I think the second best thing was Quill.
Do you know
And
what though? I thought Peter Capaldi's. This is the one complaint I actually had about his cameo was out of place for me in that show.
I think what should have happened. This is my opinion on this. If the whole series is called Class, and I felt like it didn't even have a focus. Now I was trying to focus on each of the kids, but I think the central focus should have been Quill. Quill is, and I think the 12th Doctor being in there was to remind Quill, hey, you're stuck with these kids, you're stuck on this planet, and they start evolving together. They start learning from each other. Quill starts to, pull down her suit of armor that she's put up because she's been in this war forever, and starts to liking for the kids, and the kids start to learn from her.
Yeah,
And in respect, she starts learning from the kids how to be what it is human in here, how to be compassionate. She is slowly evolving to what, the Doctor being stranded on the planet is like, these people are not so bad. And I think that's what the evolution was. And I think it should have been Quill's story, but there were all these other stories. And second of all, to tell you the truth, with respect to the actors, I'm like, I shouldn't be rooting for the bad guys to win. And I was like, oh, please go ahead, wipe them out. I don't care. It was just like they didn't seem to really, the Buffy universe, you had compassion, you felt for the individual, you felt for Buffy, you felt for Charisma Carpenter, you felt for Amy. I mean, there was always an attachment to a character. For those characters, I was like, I don't have any attachment to that. I'm like, give me a new set of kids because these kids are really bad. But I was just like, it should have been Quill learning. It should have been the adult, the teen adult, or whatever they call it now, the young adults
yeah.
version of Doctor Who, and that's where it should have had its place, where they were learning from each other. The whole series is called Class, and I think that would have made a great dynamic. I think it would have made Quill a very stronger character that people could relate to, who's damaged goods, who's got a shield up all around her, but slowly she's starting to work with the kids and stuff, and that's where I think yeah, like I said, like you said, Robert, everything about Class puts me off. It's just like from the very beginning they were talking about the Bechtel test. I'm like, which kid in the school talks about this? And I know that was probably the writer joking about it, but it's just like, once you put me off, you put me off. And it was like, didn't even the writer said he wasn't going to bring in any classic monsters, and here the Weeping Angels right at the end. I'm just like, it should have been its own thing. Quill should have been the focus. The kids should have been the counterpoints to Quill, so that she had something to counter off with, and they could have had their separate adventures individually, and Quill is like learning, from individual students. And the only time it was shown, it was the girl who learned how to fight with her. And it's like, we're starting to see that, but that should have been the second, third, fourth, fifth episode.
Yeah,
That's my opinion.
No, yeah, and we all have different opinions on it. I don't know. I'd have to watch it again, but I've watched it a few times and I've actually enjoyed it. I have to say. I mean, to me, I do think it was aimed more at the American audience because in America, in Ireland and England, we call, you have what you call them, when kids go
Hey,
to,
Lindsay.
what's a fucking, we
No,
call them Debs over here, but in America you just call them
no, Robert. It had a great title. It was class, but the focus should have been Quill, and it should have been that. Had they stayed online, I think we would be talking about series 5 and 6 right now of class. But it had no focus. It was all over the place, and it didn't know, what was the monster
oh,
of the
what's
week.
all? I'm not going to look at. I'll agree with you there. It was all over the place. I'm not going to lie, but I found some of the concepts very interesting. I mean, those creatures, what were they called again? The ones that looked like underground devils. I forget what their names are, but
See,
they
I don't
were
remember, but
but they were great. I thought that there was something I wanted more on that as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is, but I think there was some very interesting concepts. I thought I enjoyed, as I said, I enjoyed one or two of the episodes. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, I can see where people have a problem with it. But it did try to be something, and I do think and believe it was aimed at the American. No, it's where a girl puts the blade flower on her hand and the bloke brings her out in America. What's it called? They go on a party the last night at college. Something. Not what's it called?
prom. Yeah.
Prom. Yeah. So they start using prom in this show. We don't use prom in the UK and in Ireland. It's Debs. So this show, some of the dialogue, what you could tell, this was aimed more at an American market. But then they quickly just lost faith with it, and even Moffat, I think, had something to do with it, and he even just backed off it. Like they killed class before it was even shown. That's the problem as well. They killed it. They had no faith in it, and they just released it anyway. But as I said, I found some of the concepts very interesting. I thought there were interesting plots, and I did like that cliffhanger at the end. I was not expecting the Weeping Angels. I will say that.
I I would even gone on further to say, instead of, because like you said, there was potential, but nobody knew how to write that potential in. There were some really good monster ideas that just kind of just faltered. The football guy losing his leg, I was like, well, shut up. I understand you're trying to get your life back, but it's just the way that he was directed. It was just like, I don't really care for him, and I wasn't really caring for the kids as much. But I would actually say get rid of the Weeping Angels and had the big reveal that Quill finds out that kid that she's having relations with, it meaning that she's working with, developing with, and getting along with, we find out he's the prince at the end that is been jailing her. And
yeah,
you kind of see at the end that, like, I think I miss, I thought, I'm rethinking this, and maybe I was wrong with Quill, but Quill finds out, and right, that should have been the cliffhanger ending. And there should have been a moment between the two of them that was like, when the big reveal happens, it's like, oh, you are toast,
yeah,
or something like that. And I think that's the way it should have gone. But like I said, we're quarterback. We're what they call, what is it, Monday night quarterbacks. And it's like, it's so easy to say it when we're on the other side, but you can tell it just didn't have a focus. And
yeah.
that is it for me, gang.
And it's still on BBC iPlayer, apparently, according to Lindsay. So if you haven't checked it out, I mean, don't take our word for it, or our opinions for it. As we'd always say, is, you'll only know whether you like or dislike something is if you watch it yourself. You should never. Us YouTubers can give our opinions and our point of view on it, but it's best that you watch these things yourself. It's the only way you'll find out. But we're gonna wrap it up there. So before we go, we let Christian do his shout outs, because obviously he has stuff going on the Legend of the Traveling Tardis, and I want to thank him. And we will be here every Friday with Christian, hopefully. And we will be talking whatever Doctor Who news there is to talk about. So it gives us, till the end of the week. So we'll have a week's worth of things to talk about. Obviously, we wanted to go easy on the first one. We didn't want to overstretch things. So thanks again for agreeing to do these with me. I really appreciate it.
It was my honor, dude. I will talk anything Doctor Who. That's the thing. And when I was bringing on, it's just like, Christian, you want to come on? Yeah. Let's talk Doctor
Fantastic.
Who. I don't mind being on other shows. I think I was on Dan's show. I've been on quite a few other shows, and we'll talk Doctor Who. It's just a wonderful thing, and we do it all in a respectful way. Even on our show, it's just like sometimes we have disagreements, and they're very passionate. But
Yeah,
to have that moment where we should be sitting on a panel at a convention, we talk Doctor Who, and there's like 5 of us there, and we all disagree on things, but we can walk across the street to the bar and buy each other drinks because we are still Whovians at heart. We still respect, even though we don't. May not support or agree with, but we respect that we're Whovians, and I think that's what's been lost in the Whoniverse since 2016, and that's something we got to get back to. That other people will have opinions, but hey, it's so easy to destroy, but so hard to build. And when you can actually convince people, that's what I've been doing for conventions for almost 10 years. I would go out there and just tell them about the love of Doctor Who. So, yep, let me give it the shout outs because I got to run, but I'll put them in the chats. Facebook.com, The Traveling Tardis is the best. And you can follow me on The Legend of the Traveling Tardis on YouTube. Help us support. Please make sure you're sharing, and commenting on Noel's show, because that's going to help his algorithms as well. And just support your local Doctor Who indie shows, because we give a voice to everybody that we can, and we want to make sure that we're spreading the love, the word, and we call things out when they're not right, and we love things and shout out when we do. Exactly. And it's all about you guys. So please join us, and I'll see you on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. where we're going to be talking about Beep the Meep.
There you go. Okay. Again, all right. I'm gonna be back 9 o'clock Friday night.
Oh, you're leaving? Okay.
Yeah, I've got. Yeah, we'll both head off. Or if you want to head off now, and I'll just do the announcements that I'm doing for the rest of the week, and then I'll see. Or if you want to hang on backstage.
Well, I actually am running late, but I will just say this for those of you in the States in my area: I'm going to be at Pensacon the end of this month, and at MegaCon Orlando the end of next, and we will be hosting panels talking Doctor Who, and can't wait for Pensacon. There's like 16 celebrities from Doctor Who that are going to be there, and we're just excited as heck. So thank you, Noel, and I want to do more of this, and I want to see you guys out there. So take care of yourselves, love with Paulies, and always become part of the legend. Thanks for everything.
See you later, Chris. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Right, so we're back 9 o'clock for Friday night contact with the regular hosts, Lee and Chris from Cultivated Media. Also, as you can see there now, scrolling across your screen is the new schedule for the Tardis on YouTube channel. Now, Sundays right now, I have to keep occupied because Noel Clark will be doing another Twitter Spaces on Sunday, and I'll be there again as I was for the last one, co-hosting. So come and join us for that. So that's why we have no streams on Sunday at the moment on the channel. So Monday, as you can see there, as it scrolls across the screen again. So on Monday, we have the new Who Zone, and that is 7 p.m. On Tuesday, we will have membership streams. Times will vary on that. So we'll be getting the membership streams up and running, and we'll be talking various topics there. Wednesday is Classic Who Zone, and that starts at 6:30. And then on Friday, we have the Tardis Zone talks at 5:45. And then again, 9 o'clock, Friday night contact. Come and join me and Chris and Lee for that. We got plenty to talk about. And some of it is funny as well. We've got some DC stuff, some Star Wars stuff. We've got a statement from Ozzy Osbourne. And we've got other stuff to talk about as well. So come and join us for that. I'm going to wrap it up there. So again, just like to thank our new co-host who's joining me every Friday. Christian from the Legend of the Traveling Tardis. And as I said, we're starting off with one because, as you can see, they're only an hour long. Some of them won't be an hour, some of them will be less time. So that's why we want to bring a couple of them to you. But we'll see how this one goes first, and we'll keep going for on Fridays and see what momentum it picks up. And if it picks up some momentum and it justifies us doing another midweek one, we will do that. And yeah, we will. And we look forward to it. So we're going to leave it there. I'll talk to you later on. I'm going to now cook something in my new oven. Our cooker completely banged out. So we had to buy one of those little mini ovens, air ovens. So yeah, I'm gonna have something to eat now before we get ready for tonight's stream. So come and join us for that. And Doctor Who 60 and Beyond says great show. Listen, thank you very much for the support. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you could share, as Christian said earlier on, it does all helps with the algorithm as well. And we'll keep doing these as long as you guys want us to keep doing them. So I will leave it there. We'll knock the banner off now. And I'm off now to get ready and cook dinner, get ready for the next one. So I'll see you soon, guys. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Until next Friday. Goodbye and have a good one. And we will see you again for another TARDIS Zone Talks. Bye.